My dear students, have a good day. Let me get you connected with the total book. We have already completed 4 chapters. However, let me divide the whole book into 4 different parts. The first one is, the first 4 chapter is general in nature. And the next 3 chapters refers to your plant physiology. And the next 4 chapters refers to your animal physiology. And the last ones are your population and pollution. In between, you have a chapter called chemical coordinators. And here you have, with the animal physiology, you have a thing called endocrine gland system. Now, they too are hormones. This is also refers to hormones. But they regulate the growth and development in plants, whereas the endocrine gland system have the hormones which regulate the growth and various metabolic activities in animals. Okay? Now that's about the entire book that you have. That's your class 10 portion. But we have already completed the general one, that is your cell division, structure of chromosomes, and genetics. Okay? Now I have already given you a few links connecting to your absorption of water by roots. And the next chapter you have is your transpiration, which are interconnected. I'm not going to deal that today. Instead, we get on with the next chapter, that is your photosynthesis. So we have a chapter called photosynthesis, which is very, very important, which you need to understand properly. Okay? Now in photosynthesis, what does the syllabus tell you? Now it's a class 10, the both syllabus. What does the syllabus tell you about? What you have to know? Number 1, what is photosynthesis? Two, the process, which is also called the mechanism, the process of photosynthesis, and the third, importance of photosynthesis. Then you have the various experiments connecting to photosynthesis. Okay, the various experiments are the sunlight is essential, carbon dioxide is essential, water is essential, and the oxygen is evolved and the starch is formed. Now, these are the various experiments that you have to conduct. Besides that, the starch, how do you prove that the starch is present in a particular leaf after the experiment? And how do you destarch? Because before each experiment, you have to discharge it. After every experiment, you'll have to go to prove that the starch is synthesized only during the experiments. Okay? Now we go to first, that is what is photosynthesis. Now right from class 4 onward, you have heard the word called photosynthesis. At a junior level, what you know is preparation of food by the leaves is called photosynthesis. That's a basic phenomenon, basic level of understanding that you have connecting to photosynthesis. The living organisms have got three different mode of nutrition. Number one is they are autotroph, heterotroph. Now these are the two different types. Then you also have got one more thing called which they are saprophytes. Okay. Now the autotrophs are the ones who synthesizes their own food. Mainly the green plants. They can prepare their own food and that they are called autotrophs. Whereas we are called heterotrophs because we depend on the plants. And there are also organisms who prepare on their own food. They are called chemosynthetic. Now in case of photosynthesis, they use the sunlight as a source of energy. In case of chemosynthetic organisms like bacteria, the sulfur bacteria, they use the sulfur as a source of energy to synthesize their food. There are also the non-green plants like fungi, which does not have the chlorophyll, who depend on others, especially the dead and decaying organisms, and they are called saprophytes. Now we go to what exactly is photosynthesis. Now photosynthesis is a biochemical reactions. Okay, it's a process by which the living plant cells containing chlorophyll. Note the word, the plant cells that contains only the chlorophyll. We cannot prepare food. The fungi cannot prepare food, but those living plant cells that contain chlorophyll synthesizes food. So which means the green plant cells or the living plant cells, okay, the plant cells which contains chlorophyll synthesizes what? Food. It synthesizes food. Now what are those food? Starch and glucose. Using what? It uses carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight, releasing oxygen. It releases oxygen. So I repeat, photosynthesis is a process by which the living plant cells containing chlorophyll synthesizes food. The food are the starch and the glucose using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight, releasing oxygen is called photosynthesis. Remember children, go through these points. The living plant cells containing chlorophyll synthesizes food, that is your starch and glucose, using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight, releasing oxygen is called photosynthesis. Okay? Now what is the importance of photosynthesis? It has two main importance. Number one, it's a source of food for all other living organisms. Beta plants, mainly the animal kingdom, okay? They are the source of food, especially they are called the heterotrophs. They are the source of food for all the other living organisms other than your saprophytes and the chemosynthetic bacteria. Two, they release oxygen which becomes living sustenance for all other living organisms who take in the oxygen depending on the plants. And thus the oxygen level in the atmosphere is balanced because the plants release oxygen during photosynthesis. Next we go to the most important one. Certain points I will leave because they are easy. I will deal mainly the difficult part where you need to understand, like regulation and structure, opening and closing of stomata, that you will understand better once I complete the transpiration and absorption of water by root, that is your osmosis, plasmolysis, deplasmolysis. Once I complete those chapters, you will be able to understand better the regulation of opening and closing of stomata. So I won't be dealing that now. What I'm going to straight away do is the chlorophyll, the structure of chloroplast, because the photosynthesis takes place within an organelle called chloroplast. Okay, now we have learned the first chapter. We learned the animal cells do not contain chloroplast, whereas the plant cells contain chloroplast. Similarly, the animal cells do not have the plastate and the plant cells have got the plastates. Now the plastates are of three types: leucoplast, chromoplast and chloroplast. The leucoplasts are present in the root region, which is mainly responsible to store the food, and the chloroplasts are responsible for giving coloration to the plants, and the chloroplast contains the chlorophyll, which is most important and is needed for photosynthesis. Now the chloroplast is an organelle present inside the plant cell. It's a double membrane organelle. It's a double membrane organelle. Inside that you have two parts called stroma or matrix, and the thylakoids are the grana. Remember children, please try to understand. The chloroplast is a double membrane organelle. You can see the entire thing enveloped by two membranes. Then you have inside two parts. The total inside part is divided into two parts. One is the empty space is called your matrix or the stroma. And you have a coin-like structure here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have 6 coins piled one above the other, just like you have 10 1-rupee coin, you just keep one above the other. So each coin is called your thylakoid. And collectively it's called your grana. Remember, each coin, you have 1 coin, 2 coin, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have 6 coins piled one above the other. Each coin is called thylakoid. 7 coins collectively called grana. Now what is inside the coin? Nothing but the chlorophyll. I repeat, each coin is called thylakoid. The thylakoid is collectively called grana. Inside the thylakoid you have the pigment chlorophyll, which is very essential and responsible for photosynthesis. Okay, the most important pigment needed for photosynthesis.